everyone wants to know just one thing about the Zelda Ocarina of Time remake. How big is Hyrule Field actually going to be? Hey, can you see my house from up there? Whereas myself, on the other hand, is wondering about a few other things that I bet you almost no one else is. Like this shark here, is he going to be back? What's his deal anyway? In case y'all know what I'm talking about, you can find him at the bottom of the pool inside the Lakeside Laboratory, where he did absolutely nothing. And even though he got a modest upgrade in the 3DS version, his static ass, or face in this case, will still look completely out of place on Switch 2. So I'm so curious to see what they end up doing with him. Maybe an actual encounter in the lake perhaps? As terrifying as that would be. And speaking of being unalived, how will the Ocarina of Time remake handle the soldier that dies in front of young Link's eyes? Yeah, I'm not kidding. And there's a good chance you never encountered him before, as he only appears during a very brief window of time, right after Ganondorf chases Zelda away, and before Link pulls out the Master Sword at the Temple of Time. And even then, it necessitates looking for him in these back alleys, which otherwise don't have a whole lot to do. So the mysterious circumstances surrounding this one character has spawned so many fan theories. One of the more popular ones posits that he's a sole remnant of a deleted part of the game, in which Castletown actually has a third state, where it's under siege by Ganondorf's forces. Now whether that theory is true or not, this still stands as a prime opportunity to smartly update the Ocarina of Time remake where it can count. Because it is just a little odd that Castletown continues on as normal despite the princess just being chased out of her own home, along with the guard being murdered of course. And speaking of being chased, will we finally be able to beat the running man in the remake? In the original game, no matter how fast you ran, he would always manage to beat Link by just 1 second. Yeah, this boy's running hacks or something, especially as you can't actually see him during the race itself. So it'd be pretty fun if you actually could beat him in the remake and get some kind of reward for it. Next, will Navi look any different in the remake? I ask this because according to Navi's own creator, she only looks the way she does, being a ball of light, due to the limitations of the Nintendo 64. In fact, he even said himself that usually, if you were to make a fairy, you would make her a cute girl. So should we expect Navi to get a Disney-level makeover in the remake? And on the topic of fairies, we have to talk about... yeah, the Great Fairies! Which even Nintendo basically said went a half step or 3 or 4 steps too far. Okay, they didn't actually say it went too far, but they did say that it went in the opposite direction of what you would normally expect. And they kind of became iconic in their own right for this reason. But part of the reason why I'm wondering about this is because of something missing from the ESRB rating for the remake, being the suggestive themes that was included in the ESRB rating for the 3DS version of Ocarina of Time, which featured a nearly identical design, which suggests that they may have been toned down or changed for the upcoming Switch 2 version. And I'm guessing something similar will apply to Princess Ruto, who had a very naked-like appearance in the original game, although this was already partially addressed in the 3DS version. Speaking of Zoras, are we going to be subjected to 3 hours of the king scooting his butt slowly across the ledge again? Let's check back in on him a bit later. Am I the only one who hopes that classic Z targeting sound effect returns? I can't get enough of it. Speaking of sound effects, I know it's popular to hate on all of Navi's repetitive statements, but I kind of love them, and I'm curious to see how they update them in the upcoming remake, assuming she even talks at all. And speaking of talking, I'm wondering if they'll actually animate the Deku Tree talking this time, like they did in Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, especially considering that I'm pretty sure they're going to add voice acting this time. Okay, look, I can buy magic, demon keens, fairies, and all that, but I can never buy this rolling boulder in Kokiri Forest. What's it even doing there, and how's it keep rolling perpetually? The only thing it's good for is pretending you're Indiana Jones. I don't know, maybe they could retcon it to be a Goron or something. Albeit a mean one. Will the Stone of Agony be back? This optional item would cause your controller to vibrate whenever you were near a secret grotto. But it's pretty clear it was included only to advertise Nintendo's then new Rumble Pack accessory, to the point that this item even looks just like the Rumble Pack. Although it was changed in the 3DS re-release to the Shard of Agony to account for the lack of Rumble and gave an audio notification instead. But with the Switch 2 having Rumble built in again, will it go back to the Stone of Agony, or will it even return at all, considering it's always kind of a gimmicky item? And while we're on the subject of gimmicks, what was with those weird underground cows? Will they return in the remake or perhaps be given a little bit more context? Or is it just a moo point? Hey, I think it's about time to check in on King Zora's progress. Yep, he's still moving, though we're gonna be here all day at this rate. Although I suppose in the Ocarina of Time's case, that isn't all that long, as a full day-night cycle is under 4 minutes long, with nighttime itself lasting for just 1 minute and 20 seconds. which is by far the shortest day-night cycle of any Zelda game, to the point that it feels a little silly these days. Which makes me wonder, will they slow it down in the remake? It would make sense if they also scale up the size of the world, or at least Hyrule Field. Of course, if you would prefer to lose track of time entirely, you can always head over to the Lost Woods. And I can't help but wonder the developers might take the opportunity to make this feel like more of a forest than they could on the original Nintendo 64. I'm only wondering because ever since I saw these pictures of a forest from the beta version of the game back when it was Zelda 64, I wanted to explore it so bad. It looked so interesting to me, but instead we just got some logs to walk through, in what was basically a 3D remake of the forest maze from Mario RPG. Okay, forget everything else I've said so far, because nothing else is going to matter more than fishing in the Ocarina of Time remake. I'm not kidding. This will be the first time in over a decade that we had a proper 3D fishing game. And since Ocarina of Time was basically the game to introduce the idea in the first place, I am so excited to see how they update it for the remake. You know, things like a greater variety of fish, or maybe actual motion controls and not the fake wiggle kind they had on Twilight Princess. They could even give the fish a unique battle theme this time. I'm just saying the sky's the limit, and they better not let me down. And on the topic of the sky, although I love the ending in the original game, I always found this segment a little weird, with Link and Zelda just floating inside the middle of the skybox. And I'm very curious to see what they do with it in the remake. Either by making it look way better with it perhaps standing on a cloud, or perhaps by giving it more of an ethereal, out-of-time feel. Yep, he's still going. But while we wait for him to finish, why not hit that subscribe button and ring the bell for more videos from us? I want to see Ganon bleed in the Ocarina of Time remake, and I'm not talking about this weak green splatter. But to show you what I mean, I had to dig on my original gold copy of the Ocarina of Time, as this is the earliest version of the game, before they updated it and changed some things, which is the only version you can find these days, including on Switch Online. Because back in this version, Ganondorf had red blood. And not just Ganondorf, but Ganon too! Which is so much cooler than the weak green slime of the later revisions and the 3DS version. And although I'm not expecting it, I will love if they restored it to its original version in the upcoming remake. Finally, I am so curious how the remake handles an Easter egg that appeared in the original game, and the 3DS version. Because, starting with the original game, if you go to Zelda's courtyard and look through the window on the right, you might spot some pictures of characters that don't quite belong here, including Yoshi, Peach, Wingcap Mario, Bowser, and Luigi. But weirdly, it was entirely changed on 3DS to just a kind of generic looking Mario level featuring bricks and question blocks, along with warp pipes and mountains in the background. Which makes me wonder, what's it going to be on Switch 2? Will it restore the portraits of the original or do something else entirely new? Will it even still be Mario related in the end? Who's to say? Oh, and the same question applies to the weird Bowser necklace that Talon has in both the original and 3DS versions of the game. Oh my god, this dude's still going, but with that, we're out of time ourselves. So thanks so much for watching my video on the weird things I've been wondering about. Hey, he finished! It's a Kodak moment about the things I've been wondering about for the Ocarina of Time remake. Because whether it's a one-to-one remake or not, there's a lot of ways in which they could change or update or address things about the original game that I'm so curious about, and I can't wait to find out more. Now with that, let me know in the comments below if there's anything you're wondering about yourself for the remake, as I'm curious to hear your thoughts too. So with that, thanks for watching, I'll catch you later. Bye everyone.